Here we are for the applause. All right. So, thank you, guys. Everyone, today on the Walkthrough podcast, we have guest Haley Mitchell, and our theme and what we're talking about today is interior design. So, first off, Haley, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, we're still new, episode 3, and so still working out the progress.
That's right. My first podcast. So,
what did your husband say when you were like, I was invited to be on a podcast?
I think you just another day in the life of the surprises that I throw at him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Walkthrough podcast presented by Southern Oak Custom Homes. I'm Andreas Betancourt. Kevin Northcutt is our owner, and he's typically here, but today we're doing a little different, right? So we're here at one of our most recent projects that we finished. This is the studio apartment. A homeowner wanted to add a detached 2-car garage with an apartment on top.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of the materials are reclaimed. Like
I was going to ask about the floor. It's reclaimed?
The floor is reclaimed out of Highland Park.
Oh, cool.
So there is a floor guy that we know, and he pulls, instead of doing tear outs into trash, they go a little extra slow, salvage all of the material, and then they sell used bundles. And so all of this, and then if you see the different colors, some of this wood has already been refinished like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And so it's significantly thinner, right? So it might be an 1/8 inch, 3/16 thinner. So when I applied it all, then I had to sand, and I left it to where there's a bit of texture so we can keep the color.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you did all that yourself.
I did.
I might have to pick your brain when we do our floors.
Oh, it is cool. Oh, right. And here's a cheat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So materials alone, we're talking 800 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
I bought 1,000 square feet of material, all in, just not labor, but all material only. I paid less than $3,000 for these floors.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's 22. I bought it for less than $2 a square foot for the material. And then if you look at 2¼ inch hard oak solid flooring, it's over $22 a square foot.
Wow.
Like,
yeah, I love it. You don't see a lot of, I love reusing materials, and I love, how I love like old houses, and they're just built differently, and just the feeling. And you don't see like a new structure, the effort that goes into putting these reclaimed materials in it. You don't see it as often, because it takes a lot of time. You had to find it and source it and get it here. And it's just so cool. It just brings it up a whole nother level. It looks really cool.
Yeah. The labor on using reclaimed is through the roof.
Yeah.
So you save on material and then you spend on labor. But
yeah.
Okay. So Haley, do you want to tell everybody how we met originally?
Yes. I had to think how we met. Your neighbor is coworkers with my husband. That's how we originally met, I think.
Okay. But then we met at a Tarleton soccer game.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
That's right. We ran into each other at a soccer game.
And then
my son was going to be on your team.
Yep.
That was a crazy coincidence.
It was. Yeah. So that day at the soccer game, or the day of the soccer game, I had our roster given to me. I'm a volunteer coach at the soccer league. And it was like, oh, Haley Mitchell, MJ Mitchell. Like, oh, are you by chance?
Yeah.
It was wild.
We were just behind you guys. That's so Stephenville.
So Haley and I spent a few months together at the soccer fields, right? Every, 3 times a week. And it was cool. And so then when the construction job, building homes, interior design, I was like, oh, we can work together maybe. So
yeah.
Haley, tell us your story. Like, where are you from? What's your background? You're in interior design, but like, who are you? What's up?
Who am I? Good question. I'm not originally from Texas. I'm from Western Montana, but I moved to Texas right after high school. And I actually went to cosmetology school, and I was a hairstylist for several years until I was a stay-at-home mom. And then I recently rejoined the workforce. But for many years we've been, we call ourselves accidental flippers. We didn't intend it to happen this way, but we ended up getting in the market when things were priced really great, when my husband was in undergrad, and you do some cosmetic work on a house and then you turn a little profit and you put it in the next one. And so we had been doing that for a while, and we've just somehow, this is who I've become.
So your husband is a math professor at Tarleton State.
Yes. And I wouldn't say we have flipped a home. I did with my mom a couple years ago, but these have been we call them slow flips. Really, we've just done a lot of cosmetic work on the houses over the years, and never intending to do the work just to sell it, but we would end up moving for a job or my husband's postdoc, and then it worked out that way. But I will say it has always been my passion. So it's always kind of been on my mind.
Design. And so what did you study at?
I didn't study for design. It's all
you got it or you don't.
I learned from trading spaces in the 90s and then lots of hours of HGTV, of course, but then and just experience and doing things.
And so you said you now work for Julianne's. So is that what's the business? Is it Julianne's?
Julianne's Lifestyle is the interior design firm I work for now. I started with them last fall, and Julianne is pretty well established in the community. So she actually had a really cute little shop downtown, and the design business started somewhere around the time that the shop opened up as well. And then the design work and general contracting out for remodels and assisting in new builds and that kind of a thing, that kind of was born from that. So I joined the team there's 4 of us now.
My wife has actually done graphic design and different background things for Julianne.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
she's so talented. Her art is amazing.
I know. My wife doesn't listen to this podcast, but if she did, here's her plug. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's a great artist. I love her art.
So yeah, very few people when Julianne had the shop, Julianne's on the Square, understood that the actual money being made was not the store necessarily, but was the back room, was the design, was the commission work, the client list that was hey, help me with my house. That
just is one of those things that I think I wasn't on the team when the transition happened from having the store on the Square and the design work, but it does just seem like there's such a demand for the design that it kind of organically grew in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of remodels and new builds, and it's crazy.
So we'll get to in a little bit, there's some misconceptions or stereotypes about interior design and how to work with an interior designer. But first off, when you approach a project, if we're talking to, people who are just interested in new construction or potential homeowners looking to build, if they're building with design in mind, what are there some rules or philosophies or frameworks of how you approach design for a home, how you approach a project?
I would say, and I hope I don't muddle my words here, but I would say, when you're in those very first stages, I would want my focus, if I was building a home, to be on getting the location and the lot and then selecting the right builder to start with. Is that corny?
No, location and lot. What do you mean by that?
Because it's just what you can't change where you put the house. So your location and what amenities you want to be close to are going to be number one. And it does have to do with design. I know it's not.
You're talking about function, not design.
I am, but they kind of work hand in hand.
They should, right?
They do. Yeah.
I tell so I've written a few blogs for our site and stuff. And one thing, you mentioned the lot and the land, the sun orientation.
Yes.
Where is the sun rising? You don't want to be baking in the west sun if you can. If you can face the east, if you can shade from the west, if you, which way is the grill facing?
Right.
Where do you want the grill?
Proximity to trees that are more mature, if that's what you're looking for. And
windows to the couch, are you going to be blinded by glare when you're watching TV? You're
Right.
So, no, that's cool. Okay, so assuming all of that, when we talk about, that is set. the land is no questions asked. Like we've purchased this land, so it is what it is. We have this floor plan, it is what it is. Where do you go next? Like, how do you approach a new build? Like, do you start with cabinets? Do you start with flooring? Do you start with color? Do you start, how do you start a project?
As designers, we have come into projects at different levels or different stages in the process.
Yeah.
So
late and early.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes people bring us in and most things have been decided, but they just need help with the final details. But we have also been brought in and collaborated with the architect on designing the home. So I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit.
No, you're good. Like, we're hoping this podcast is a little raw and honest, right? So we've even considered it as this is like an audition of an interview for a client. Like, hey, I'm a real human. I'm not just like projecting bullcrap.
Yeah.
So, when we start a project, you're brought in.
Yep.
What do you think first? Do you think flooring, tile, backsplash, or are you thinking colors and furniture and window treatment?
I think we're thinking a little more big picture at the very beginning. So flow, walkways, when it comes to kitchens, you're going to want your work triangle to be really efficient.
What is a work triangle?
That would be when you're preparing a meal, you want your water source, your sink, to be close to where you're getting your ingredients from, which would be your fridge or your pantry, and then your cooktop.
Okay.
Did I miss something? I don't know why I've never said it out loud. It's just I've always talked about the work triangle.
Work triangle, sink, fridge, oven.
Yes.
And then you threw in the quadrilateral, the pantry.
Yes.
So do you, what does a functional, so those are the three elements. What does a functional triangle look like? Do you want it small? Do you want it big?
I think it just depends on the individual building the home, honestly. I'm not a huge cook, so I don't need all of this space to prepare really elaborate meals. But someone that does cook a lot for a really big family or likes to entertain would probably want more space for those kinds of things. So we will go about it a couple different ways, but we've done questionnaires where we just try to gauge our clients' needs for the space, and then we go from there. So we're going to consider the flow, the work triangle, and then storage for pots and pans and collections and whatever they need.
We're in this studio apartment. Sneaky. There's a 32 square foot pantry
right here.
Yeah, that's a
awesome.
Giant pantry.
That's awesome.
Floor to ceiling shelving. It's kind of
that's nice.
Overkill.
It's never too much.
No, my wife would agree. Yeah. Never too much storage in the pantry.
That's awesome.
So, okay, you're starting big picture.
Yep.
And then, when you're dealing with a homeowner, what is your questionnaire? You mentioned questionnaire. Like, what kind of questions are you asking that guide the design process?
Well, we want to know about how they're using the space, what kind of overall end look they're going for is going to be really important. Their use, what they need storage for. It's really personalized. So yeah, it really just depends on the individual and how much information we already have to start. And then we're going to go from there, and we're going to, a lot of the times we'll start with a Pinterest board or some kind of visual with them to help, because it is hard to sometimes put words to what style you're trying to create.
Do you have your own Pinterest boards that are like different styles? Hey, this is contemporary, this is modern, this is traditional, this is ranch.
Right.
It's your boards and you show them, or do your customers oftentimes make their own boards?
Normally we start with that. I think
with the best
which?
The customers?
With the second. Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We do have our own Pinterest boards, and we like to share inspiration across social media and stuff like that. But when it comes to the individual, we are more trying to hone in on what they may look at. They may think that their style is, farmhouse or modern, but when we see like an image of what they like and they're telling us what they like about it, we may be able to extract a little more information out of that, or actually determine that their style is a little bit different, or it's leaning more this way, or they're trying to move away from what they've done in the past. So the visual really helps.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And, you're asking questions of homeowners, and homeowners, if you're not planning to hire an interior designer, ask yourselves these questions. And you're talking about function. I think about, okay, well, what question would I ask myself in a kitchen? What do I care about? I care about the coffee bar. Mm-hmm. like when we built our house and did our addition, the coffee was so important that we actually took it out of the kitchen and gave it its own room.
Yes.
It's like we have a fairly open concept, entry, dining, foyer, anyway. And so our coffee bar is, man, I bet it's 11 foot by 5 foot. Yeah, it's like a little over 50 square feet of
nice.
This is coffee. Here's our, like, my wife found an antique buffet that we like redid.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So
yeah.
Ask yourselves questions like, well, what do? I have midnight coffee, or I have midnight ice cream snacks, or, you know, I spend so much time prepping lunches for my kids. Like, where does my Tupperware, like specific functional, like I need this. This is my issue with pots and pans. Well, there's solutions. And so the more questions that a homeowner can ask themselves, what do I want my life to be?
Exactly.
Then you can do design
around that.
Yeah. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah. Design is not just aesthetics, it's function.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And placement of furniture in the future. So we'll have all of that in mind when we come in early on.
Absolutely.
Makes a difference.
And if you're designing a home, there's a lot of tools, and your builders should absolutely have this for you, but, or architect, whoever, you can model furniture in your designs. Like you can do your rotations of, well, here's my bed, here's the windows, you know, here's the couch. Oh, these two couches don't fit with the fireplace and the TV.
Right. Yep. We love to put things in a floor plan and like a 3D program that we have so that we can see how much space you're going to have to walk. And if you have like a really special piece of art that you want to be displayed, we're going to set the wall and we're going to put it there so that we know where everything is going to go. We can work around the furniture that you're bringing in, or we can just say, you know, you're going to need a 96-inch couch, or, you know, we can give those specifications from that.
That's cool.
What
program do you use?
House Pro.
Oh, okay. That's cool. We, my wife, she actually graduated with a degree in architecture.
Oh, cool.
And so lately we've been playing around with SketchUp a lot.
Yes.
And SketchUp's pretty cool program.
Maybe you can teach me something about SketchUp.
Yeah, no.
We've been playing with it a little bit, and it's kind of, I feel like it's a little bit of a steep learning curve, but we've been getting into using it, and I just feel like you can get more detailed with a program like SketchUp.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's
a good program.
So here's an unexpected plug for listeners. SketchUp, I think it's like $300. It might be $300 a year.
Sure.
I'm not sure. But it is a legit pro grade. You could use it for pure architecture. You could use it for interior design. You can use it for modeling. It's a cool program.
It's a very cool program.
Okay, so a lot of times, and this is people with their words. This is people with their eyes. Like, I know what I want to say. I know what I'm feeling, but I don't know how to say it. I know what I like, but I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes I walk into a house and I'm like, this is it. But so for homeowners who are struggling with design, like they're building a house. So hopefully our listeners are those that have built, that are going to build, are curious about building. They know what, you know, they have pictures they like, but what would you tell somebody that's struggling to manifest their design, or they don't know how to ask themselves the questions to figure out what they like?
I think it kind of goes back to a Pinterest board. Pinterest is so cool. It's a search engine for photos. So it's just a really good way to save all of your ideas in one place. And when you have a designer, this is where I could look at someone's board and maybe I can help them interpret what they're liking about the space. So recently for like an e-design client, for example, she showed me some pictures and was a little bit broad in her description of her style. And so I was trying to kind of figure it out. And I'm noticing things like contrast and the color palette, the shape of her existing furniture, to kind of pull those notes out of what I'm seeing in her space, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Helping her kind of just navigate it and then reel it in and
yeah, so you used a great word, interpret.
Yep.
Some people, they can put together tons and tons of stuff, but then they don't know how to interpret it. Like,
right.
what is similar about all these things?
Right.
What is things that's similar that I don't like? Oh, and then you can create like rules with which to build your design within.
A way I like to start it too is if you're planning a kitchen or you're designing for a kitchen, have your kitchen mood board and just take an hour every night or whenever, scroll Pinterest and save anything that you like. Even if there are details that you don't like about it, just save anything that catches your eye. Because when you go back to the board and you look at every image you've saved, you're going to start to see a common thread.
It's like a mosaic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never thought about Pinterest as a mosaic, or like in a design phase, what do I like? Just throw it out there.
Everything.
And then you can have third parties, interior designers,
Exactly.
friends, whatever, your spouse. Oh, here's more of a completed thought.
Exactly.
That's cool.
I love a visual.
Pinterest boards, create your own design mosaics. That's awesome. All right, so kind of want to segue. Designers within the building industry, right? So if you're talking to builders, one stereotype we could say, or characterization, is, oh man, interior designers on homeowner brought in an interior designer. Dang it, we're not gonna make the budget and we're not gonna make the timeline.
Yeah.
How is it in a, so that's a bad rap, and it's not necessarily true, but just whatever. In a dream world, how is the best way from the view of the designer, how should a builder work with the designer?
I think the best way to make it a successful collaboration is ideally for the designer to be on early in the project, because when the budget is discussed, if the designer can say, has any say in it, then we can say, hey, I know, a standard build, you might be putting, I'm just making things up, 8 can lights in this room, but we actually think that you should put some wall sconces on. It's going to bring, we want to have light at multiple levels. That's going to up your budget a little bit in these areas. So
absolutely,
early
if
collaboration.
Each wall sconce is an extra $500, and then like, oh, okay, we need a plan for boom across 3 rooms, and now we're
A custom designed home, yes, it will maybe cost a little bit more, but those added touches are going to make it more valuable in the end. You have a more valuable home. So
absolutely. And if you're building a custom home, you don't want a custom home that looks like a basic spec.
Right. Exactly.
For your money, you could buy a basic spec.
Exactly.
Okay, so throughout a build, great. Best case scenario, everybody's on board from the very beginning.
Right.
What does it look like? What does a successful relationship look like between the builder and homeowner and designer? Do you, as a designer, want to talk a lot with the builder, or do you want to just only talk with the homeowner?
I think it depends on the homeowner. We've had homeowners who want to be more involved, and we have homeowners who say, I trust you and just do your thing. Okay. And so that's going to depend a lot on what the homeowner wants. I think, use the designer. If you've hired the designer, use it to kind of push some of those tasks or communicating some of those things to the builder. You can have use your designer in that way if you want to. Absolutely. I would say, you're bringing a designer on to help navigate all of the little, decisions and complexities of building. And so use them.
Yeah, sure. With an interior designer, when are decisions made, like selections? Okay. So you're in from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Okay, staying on budget. All right, everybody has a budget in mind. You can say, oh, look, this design is not happening. Like, we cannot do the wall sconces within this budget. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now to timeline, like when are decisions made on color, on the flooring, on cabinet finish, on, all this stuff?
It's really, a lot of builds, I kind of think of them as like a living organic creature. It's kind of living, moving, breathing, and changing. And so we try to make a lot of those decisions up front so that we have the end vision in mind, but there has to be a bit of flexibility because...
Yeah, absolutely. Or
Yes.
sourcing lately,
Exactly.
right? Like things are like, oh, it's not available.
Exactly. Or you just find something cooler. I mean, that happens a lot too. We have a plan, we find something cool, and that shifts the plan. And if everyone can have a little bit of flexibility, then we're all happy.
Yeah, no, so one, in our messaging with Southern Oak Custom Homes, what our tagline, have you heard our tagline?
I don't think so.
So a better build experience. I think it's really easy for builders and for designers and all the trades, like everybody can get wrapped up in their point of view, but just to remember, oh, this is the homeowner's house. Like, what are they experiencing?
Exactly.
This is your house. You just chose an Audible. Great. If you're okay with the Audible and the Audible in price and the Audible in timeline potentially, let's do it.
We're happy.
Yeah. So you said flexibility, and that's yes.
Yeah.
Like we can be humans. We can be kind.
Yep. We can. And also I think there's just a little bit of acceptance that sometimes in the building process, it can be a little clunky. Not clunky, but just a little, I mean, if, you have to repeat yourself to person A and person B. And I mean, we all have the end goal in mind, and it might be a little difficult to control everyone's, what's the word I'm looking for? What everyone's specific place is. Sometimes there's going to be some overlap, and it's a collaboration. It's kind of a work in progress.
That's a cool word, collaboration. So when we did a personal edition remodel a few years ago at our house, and it was full gas. Like it was a lot.
Did you live in the house while?
No, we had a friend from church that let us live in their house
Nice.
for like 10 months.
Nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
But we went on vacation, spring break, went to Big Bend, and on the way back, we stopped in San Angelo, and my wife finds two antiques, the buffet, and then in our bathroom, our master bath, there's a antique dry sink.
Cool.
And we're walking, she's like, I have to have these at the house. And I was just so annoyed as the builder, like, because again, like you talk about, like I was, from my point of view, no, that I need to move this wall a bit. I'm going to have to do this. The plumbing's going to be more difficult because I have to use a reclaimed piece of wood, change the sink.
Right.
Like, no.
It adds a little bit of complication, but then in the end,
I love it.
everyone, right? That little bit of effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that sink.
Yep.
And I love the buffet, and I like it. It literally, those pieces of furniture changed some of the legit layout and function of our home.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
it was a good, like having this discussion as the builder, like I was literally building my own home, and it's annoying. And I love this person who's my wife, and I was so annoyed. I was like, no.
Yeah.
But it turned out better.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep.
I was talking about decision-making process with our homes and such. Like we have a schedule of, okay, insulation's going in. Right now we're choosing wall color because we know that sheetrock's next. We're painting, like we have a process, a timeline of, okay, if we can present a few choices all the time, then it's comprehensible input. It's not overwhelming. We know that before countertops are purchased, like if somebody's buying custom marble slabs, we have to have the faucets.
Right.
We have to have the sink and the faucets, so that way when the countertop guys install, they can drill a hole and everything will be warranted, everything. So now, I would just like at Julianne's, do you guys have timeline processes, like timeline built into projects to help make sure that objectives are hit?
Yeah. And when we've worked with builders, we've had a few builders provide their timeline when they need selections by, which is always really helpful if we're not contracting out the work ourselves. We don't know when, sheetrock's going up. And so they just need the decision made by this date. And that's really helpful. But when we're approaching a remodel or a new build where we are contracting out some of the work, then we do. I mean, we've done it differently for different clients. House does have in their program a timeline feature, but we find that it's a little bit difficult to introduce people to. They're a little hesitant to want to learn it, which I completely understand. And so in those times, sometimes we just do a schedule on like an Excel spreadsheet, and with the understanding that it's probably going to change.
Sure. But
You know?
at least you're starting from structure. You're
do
not
try.
starting from the cloud.
Right. Writing things down is, that's really, really helpful, because if you're not keeping track of those things, you're just going to have a mess when you have all your subs coming in and no one knows when to do what.
So, Julianne's, you guys like legit are general contractors, not just interior designers, but if somebody hires you to do a remodel or an addition, like
Right.
you guys can execute from concrete to framing, finish it out.
We typically go, drywall in.
Okay.
But I know that Julianne's can facilitate, additions and new builds. We've done it before where we've just partnered with a builder, and it's kind of they're going to get the structure up, and then again, we're just drywall in.
Yeah.
We've done them all different ways, but we have a lot of relationships with different subs, and so
That's awesome.
it's made it really easy for us to just go ahead and
So,
it
Stephenville,
out.
Texas, if you guys are
yeah.
remodels, and if you guys are ever looking for different builders, let us know.
Yeah.
That's spectacular. Okay, so let's go back to budget. We're designing on a budget. Your homeowner says, I literally cannot spend more than this. Where should the money go first?
Into a contingency fund. You need to have if you have a really hard budget, you need to have a set aside amount of money for when the unexpected comes up, because
Okay.
it will come up.
Okay, so I'm going to defend the homeowner right now. No, I'm hiring you. Here is my budget. Do not ask me to spend 20% more than my budget.
We normally build it into the total amount for the client. Yeah.
So here's my budget. So you said, I'll reinterpret what you said. If a homeowner has a budget of $100,000, hard budget, you're like, okay, we're only going to design with $80,000. We're going to spend 80 and know that it's probably going to bleed instead of trying to spend 100. That is a really awesome rule, because I've never heard it phrased that way. Spend your first money on the contingency. So basically you're dropping your total dollars available in your own mind.
Yeah. And depending on the complexity of the remodel or whatever it is that we're doing, that amount might not be at full 20% of it. But we try to account for every expense. Like a remodel that we're doing here in town is a similar situation. We've got a $95,000 budget, and that's going to include our fee and all of the work. And so we gathered all of our bids. We went ahead and priced out all of the details, the lighting, and we made those selections ahead of time to help them stick to that really hard budget.
Yeah.
And then we built in a contingency for the things that are going to come up that you can't plan for.
Man, that's cool. So first thing is I have 100,000. I'm going to spend less. Nice. All right. So great. Let's say 90,000, right? 10,000, 10% contingency. Where should the money be spent first? Is it on furniture? And again, let's focus on new build.
Okay.
New build, full custom home. They have $700,000 home.
Okay.
The home itself is going to cost $600,000. Like, what? When you're having these early discussions, what are you prioritizing in the minds of your homeowners?
As far as where their money should go? That's a good question. And I do think it does depend on the price point of the home that you're building. And does the $700,000 include furnishings for the whole home? That would change my answer a little bit too.
Okay. Let's say it doesn't. It's just the house.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess maybe this is I'll try to rephrase the question. When you're thinking about the mosaic, the Pinterest board, the whatever, what are the design elements that are most important? Like you mentioned the floors.
To spend money on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you, you say, hey, go with the top graded appliances?
Right.
It's not designed, but it kind of is. Or are you saying put an extra $5,000 towards electrical? Because wall lighting is could do so much. Or I think you need to like, don't go with the cheap tile. Go with the luxe tile.
I'm kind of a lighting snob, so I kind of like what you said about the lighting. That's something that we're always encouraging people to add different levels and layers of their lighting, so we don't just have overhead lighting. And we really like, being able to change the color temperature on our lighting.
Oh yeah, because your Philips LED bulbs that you get, yeah.
We like to be able to customize. There are some smart bulbs now where you can change the color temperature on your phone. Those are pretty cool.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would encourage people, I think spending a little bit more on the things that you are touching every day is going to be really important.
What are you touching every day? What are those?
Your kitchen faucet. I would never cheap out on a kitchen faucet. Your countertops, how durable do you need them to be? And then so if you're a cook and you need something that's not going to stain, or you have a lot of needs for your countertops, then I would say splurge a little bit there. So splurge in the areas where the most life and living is going to be happening. Okay. I know that doesn't specifically answer. It's just so custom for each person,
Okay, so when you approach, like, you're not approaching typical homeowners with like, hey, this is a good track. You literally, I mean, everything you do is based off of their feedback.
I think so. Okay. Yeah.
What do you have any thoughts on carpet versus hard floor tile or hardwood?
I actually have a t-shirt that says, millennials hate carpet and boomers love carpet. And we are always debating this. And I bought that t-shirt the second I saw it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of a carpet, but it does have a place. I mean, sometimes if you're going into like a really old home, sometimes those floors are going to be too funky to do anything else. And so, I mean, it has its place, and it has its place in a budget. I don't want to hate on something that might be perfectly practical and beautiful for somebody that someone might like, but I typically try to go for a harder surface and something that you can clean.
Sure. And with carpet, it doesn't often get replaced as often as it should.
Right. I mean, have you ever taken up old carpet?
It's bad.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we have done and what we really like are going hardwood with area rugs.
Mm-hmm. That's my favorite. You can kind of choose your spaces and kind of identify the spaces with the rug, and it creates a little bit of softness, and I think you can bring in some style that way.
Okay. And, we're talking about budgets, like rugs.com, rugsusa.com, two different websites. I think it's a parent company, but you can get a 10 by 12 rug for $400 pretty easily. Mm-hmm. You can get you can get them for $200.
Yeah.
But
you're sacrificing on material maybe a little bit.
Right.
Or longevity of it.
Here is a hack with carpets, with area rug carpets. I really like to put carpet padding under, not just like,
oh yes,
not just the rubber mats that hold it stick,
like a carpet
padding.
Yes.
1/2 inch, 3/4 inch carpet padding. And people
that
are
is
like,
a good
what
hack.
is going on?
Yeah, it feels high end.
Yeah.
Cushy.
Because you can do a super flat, cheaper rug, but on the pad, and then you can still wrestle, like me wrestling with my boys and stuff.
Yep.
I do not want to wrestle on hardwood.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good hack. And you can have them custom cut to the size of the rug. So
yes,
it's customizable.
Absolutely.
And if you buy just a carpet pad, like a rug pad online, I don't know, they're kind of junky. They're like that grippy kind of, they're not soft.
It's almost like the shelf liner.
Yeah,
it
is.
Like perforated foam. Nah.
Junk.
Carpet pad.
Yeah, carpet pad.
Hack. Mm-hmm. You have any other hacks? Like, because basically this is what I heard you say. Try to not buy a carpet, go hardwood, and then get an area rug. Mm-hmm. So that, too, I'm asking where should people spend money? You said it came out of your subconscious, like flooring. Flooring's important.
Flooring is important.
Okay.
It's one of those tactile things. And I have no issue with like the luxury vinyl plank. I know it's really popular and we use it all the time. It's so practical.
Yeah. $4 a square foot at Lowe's.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And it is pretty indestructible nowadays too. So, but where the budget allows, there is just a tactile difference between real and faux materials.
Do you know the price offhand of per square foot of luxury vinyl versus like an engineered hardwood? Is that same 6-inch board?
Oh, I don't think they're too far off price wise. I mean, I think the engineered might be a little bit more, but I don't think it's that
Probably like
much more expensive.
$10 square foot, 11.
Gosh, I don't think that much. But I also I don't trust my memory on this.
Yeah.
We haven't done a ton of engineered. Honestly, most people are either going to go, in my experience, for the real deal and just do like a wood floor, or they're going to go a luxury vinyl plank just because it has a good reputation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, with engineering flooring, you can't refinish after so many times.
Yeah, I think you get like one, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it scares people a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. What about in the kitchen, like backsplash? What do you think about tile? So like, this is actually what we're going to do behind. The thought was in a year, add a Vinahood and do concrete hand-painted tile.
Oh, cool.
From the range all the way to the Vinahood, and then it'll add color, like probably like blue something.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
You should have Lauren paint the tile. Really customize it.
Yeah, she could.
That'd be awesome.
But do you have any recommendations on like marble? You were talking about marble versus quartz. Marble can stain, quartz is sealed, or what are your thoughts in the kitchen? Where should somebody spend money?
Yeah, I mean, I would if durability, not staining, is really important to you. Quartz, I know, is a really good popular option, especially because you can kind of control what the look of it will be because it's man-made. Mm-hmm. But I also really like a natural stone and the natural movement. So I think it would depend on if you want to splurge there or if you would rather splurge on the backsplash. But I actually think of the backsplash as a good place to save because I think you can use a more affordable tile and, you know, lay it differently or do something kind of unexpected and it will look more designer or more high end without having to spend a lot of money there. So I'd probably splurge more on the countertops and go a little lighter on the tile in the backsplash. What do you think?
I really love concrete.
I do too.
So concrete's cheap and durable.
This. Yeah. See, I love this.
This is like an acrylic faux concrete plaster that we just put on top of the sheetrock.
It's so cool.
Me, in my design taste, I want as clean of line as possible.
Right.
As little bit of trim as possible. And
minimal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We just did a pretty substantial project. And this homeowner wanted the opposite of clean and durable. She said, I want my house to tell a story. I want unfinished, unpolished brass or unlacquered brass.
I love that.
I want it to patina.
I love it.
I want marble that's porous and I want stains to happen. And they used all like reclaimed barn, like threshing floor.
Oh, cool.
Is a spectacular home.
That's cool.
But the whole house was done that way it's going to get worn and it will tell the story. It's an old, it's of before us and it's going to last after us and it's just going to evolve. So.
That's cool. You have to have that type of personality where you're okay with the chip on the countertop.
Yeah.
It depends. If you don't have that personality, don't try to make yourself like that or you'll just go crazy once you spend all your money on materials that patina. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I can relate. I do love things that patina and age well.
Where else would you save money?
I would save money on things like, this is probably a hot topic. I would probably save money on door hardware. I just think what do you think?
No, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, people have different feelings about it. There is just a tactile feeling of like heaviness with really quality material, door hardware and cabinet hardware, but I think it's somewhere that you can save. I'm okay with saving on it for my own.
Yep. I've been a part of house projects where the homeowners is literally spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on the house on door hardware.
It's easy to do that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You would never realize.
But yeah, you spend that and then $30,000 on cabinet hardware.
Yep.
And thank you. Yeah. These are places to save. But also like if you have it and you want to do it.
Yeah.
Go
it's
for it.
Personal preference. Absolutely. It does feel nice in your hand when you have a nice, like, heavy handle set on your front door.
Yeah.
But then, if we were cutting back on door hardware, I would probably splurge a little bit more on the front entry or the most used entry.
Okay.
So you get that feeling, but you still save money elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Like my closet doorknobs don't need to be fancy. MTech, personally.
Sure. All right.
MTech's probably not even fancy to some people. They're probably like, that's the cheap stuff. But
it's all relative. And
it is.
I think that I was expecting for you to come and you to have a lot more opinion of, well, this is good design and this is the rules and this is what you should do. Mm-hmm. And all you've done is kind of deflect.
Yeah.
And you've said, no, it's what does the homeowner want?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about sourcing. We'll transition a little bit.
Okay.
How can homeowners, if they have a designer, or if they don't have a designer, how do you source and find the materials that people see on HGTV? You're driving through the streets of Austin. You're like, that's such a cool door. Like, where do people source this stuff that they like?
I will say a reverse Google image search is your best friend. So if you have a picture of something or a screenshot or you take a picture, you can put it in the Google image reverse search.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And if it's a photo from online, oftentimes it will take you to the source. Yeah, or Pinterest most of the time.
Yeah.
And then you can find out where the tile or the whatever is from that way. We use that tool quite a bit.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Reverse, because, a lot of times, a lot of people are like, do you just find designers and then you find on Instagram and then you have to find their suppliers and then you can't just find a supplier because you have to find the installer. Because a lot of times people's like on high-end stuff for sure, mm-hmm. suppliers will not sell the materials unless it's to a certified installer who can warranty the work or warranty the piece.
Yep. In those cases, you're just probably going to look for a good dupe.
A good dupe.
A good dupe.
And what is
lots
dupe?
Out there?
Yeah, just like a hack, just a
good
imitation.
Duplicate, something that's going to be the same look for less. Yeah. I mean, with the Google reverse search and honestly with just the popularity of people sharing their projects and influencers and all of those kinds of people are sharing a lot of their sources online a lot of the time for free, which is a resource for people who are kind of DIYing the design part.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you have any places that you go like that you respect their duplicates or, oh, this is a mid-grade, like this website or this company, I really like their stuff. They mock high-end things.
That's a good question. I end up sourcing all over the place, really, when it comes. So I don't really have just a single source. Kind of just depends on the look and the specific thing. I know I'm giving you such non-answers to good questions.
let me defend you too, because for like if a listener's hearing you deflect, like I have these discussions, I've had them with several interior designers and everybody is the same. It's not a desire to hide or to keep secret. It's one of the value adds of hiring an interior designer is there's tons of legwork.
Yes.
A lot of the design, a lot of what you see on HGTV, a lot of like when you go to a house it's just, some of it is truly one of a kind. Mm-hmm. Some of it is reclaimed. Some of it is hours and hours at antique malls.
Yes.
It's hours on Instagram. It's building a personal network. Mm-hmm. When I started building homes, I genuinely thought, gosh, there's got to be a database. Hey, I'm a builder. Hey, what's the buy-in? What's the subscription? Give me a login, and I get into this. No, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So, as an interior designer, a lot of your work is just clicking, scrolling,
figuring it out. Looking back, or what did we do previously, or we went to market, we saw this, we were inspired. And we're just looking at design and homes all day long. So we're just seeing a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that just, that's pretty, it's worth something for sure.
Back to sourcing and good design and budgets, right? Because I don't want to leave the budget topic. It's significant. I mean, it drives the project.
It's everything. Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to turn a $400,000 home into a $700,000 home, like in expense, right? Maybe not necessarily value. You just
Yeah.
these finishings instead of a $4,000. This is a $2,000 fridge.
Right.
We could have bought the $4,000 fridge, and there's also $30,000 fridges available.
Yeah.
And they all are chrome or stainless steel. What do you recommend, or like, talk me through when you have that customer that their taste is more than their budget, and how do you walk homeowners back? Like, no, you can't. That's not an option. You can't. That's not an option.
Well, I mean, we're gonna take notes on what they're seeing and what they like about it, and then we're gonna give them the option that is in their budget. It might not be exact, but I love the challenge of trying to create an expensive look on a tighter budget. It's fun. It's creativity.
Yeah.
I weirdly enjoy it.
Problem solving.
Yeah, it's just problem solving. That's what a lot of this kind of work is. And when you're a builder, you're problem solving all day long.
Let's go back to the first question. What do you start with on a project? And you said your lot, your your orientation of the home, your layout. Like, yes, so much can be accomplished with the floor plan, with the lines of the building itself, that you can get. Homeowners can have the feel that they want. They're attracted to a feel, not necessarily a specific item.
Right.
So
that's how the space feels.
Yeah, which is interesting and kind of hard because halfway through a concept. So my wife is an artist, and I'm rarely allowed to look at stuff when it's halfway through because I'm hypercritical. And she's like, "But it's not the complete thought yet."
You're like, "Oh, are you going to finish it like that?"
Yeah. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, and then when it finishes, I'm like, "Oh, that looked.
Yeah.
I see what I didn't see it before."
Yeah.
What do you tell customers who they struggle, they can't see it, and then they're hypercritical of their builder, they're hypercritical of their designer, like midway through, and it's really just fear. It's so much money, and it's fear.
Yep.
Like, what do you tell your customers?
I understand. Yeah, you have, when you've hired your team, we just try to reassure that anything that you haven't seen before, we've seen it. We've been there. You're stressing about that detail. We've already thought about it. We have all of these things in mind for them, and that's the service and the value that we add. And so, I mean, it's hard. What do you tell people? But we just are reminding people pretty frequently that that's what we're here to do. And we always get through it, and we always pull it together in the end.
Yeah.
It always comes together.
It's so tough. We Kevin and I talk about, like, people building a home, they've dreamed about it for their life. They've dreamed about it for years,
Yeah.
I've saved for 10 years for this home and every detail, and they don't want to hear, "Oh no, literally you won't see that in a month."
Yeah.
Why? You're being disrespectful to me and my money and my dreams and my ideas.
Right.
Like, and so no, it's real. Like, this isn't your budget, but I can create what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to reassure people a lot. It's a really huge financial commitment.
Yeah. Building a home for sure.
Yeah.
Financial commitment. What is, you're talking about the value add of an interior designer. You bring experience. You've seen it. You're sourcing. You can put together, you can synthesize and interpret the mosaics, those
Right.
Pinterest boards. And you're like, I can give you this house. What does it cost to hire an interior designer?
That is so different depending on are we just sourcing finishes? Are we going to be involved from the very beginning with the architect? Are we subbing out, our own?
Let's say we have a client that we're building a house for. The design, the floor plan is set, and you're brought in. Let's say we already even have finishings, like but they're like, no, I really want this interior designer. Do you have a fee for not even sourcing necessarily, like just design or feedback? And earlier you mentioned e-design. So can you walk through some of the options and how do people pay you?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's with every project, our team has a meeting and we're like, oh, so we're going to do it a little bit differently this time, because every project is so different. We have tried so hard to create like one size fits all pricing, one price per square foot or one price
or a
per hour.
menu,
It's very difficult to do with this work just because of the complexities and how personalized our service can be. But there are times when we're just going to do a brief, consulting someone throughout the process, and that might be an hourly fee. If we're going to be consulting throughout the entire process, that might be a square footage fee.
Okay.
And it does vary quite a bit.
The dollar per square foot could vary.
Yep. Just depending on what all they want us to be involved with. Are we going to meet with your cabinet builder and go over every detail with you, or you have that figured out? We're just doing paint colors. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so y'all are going through, like, we're going to go through shaker cabinet, or we want raised panel, or we
so
want
many
natural
details.
cherry.
Yeah.
We want this natural wood, but this is going to be paint grade, and this is going to be, let's add more contour because I want the Vinahood different built in.
Right.
Okay.
It's so hard to give a one size fits all answer. Like a percentage of the total budget. I would love to be able to give that. I also think it varies greatly just where you are at, on the map.
Sure. Central Texas is going to be different than the Pacific Northwest, than Atlanta versus
Dallas, Fort Worth. It's very different.
Okay. If a person were to call you, and earlier we talked about like this random $400,000 house or $700,000, let's say $700,000 house, and they're going to bring you in to the house, at what point does a interior designer save a homeowner money rather than cost them more? Like, if you get involved with the project and they're like, here's my budget, can I pay you and you actually save me money by adding design value but sourcing things cheaper, or like,
yes,
like how give me the value add monetarily of why somebody should hire you?
I mean, I think a part of, where you can save would be materials, and we're going to have experience working with different materials. So that's one of the ways that we can save you money. We can say, you don't need to splurge on the $30 cabinet pole. Like, these $10 ones are going to do the trick. You don't use this area that often. And so just the, expertise and the experience is going to save you a little bit of money. And then you already kind of spoke to it, but just the added value at the end of the day, when you've got a space that flows better and is well designed, it's just going to be, your home's going to be worth more. Homes that are staged sell for a lot more than homes that aren't. And so
absolutely,
there is something to that. So I do think there is a lot of value add in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. Different people have different strengths and skill sets, and the ability to see what doesn't exist. People don't have it. By and large, that is a specific skill.
Right.
And so when you're hiring an interior designer, you're hiring somebody that can see something that doesn't exist.
Right.
And then manifest it.
Right.
And theoretically, if you're hiring a builder, your builder should be able to see what doesn't exist and then walk you through it. And then just an interior designer is just one more component, one more collaborator.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite type of project? Do you like working on new construction or remodel, or like?
I personally, I kind of love when we have to be really creative and work within the constraints of an existing floor plan, or we're keeping this but we're taking this out. I kind of love a no demo reno kind of project.
A no demo renovation.
Yes. Okay. Have you seen the show?
No.
I don't know. Can we mention it?
Yeah.
Is HGTV going to sue us?
No. They're going to appreciate the plug.
She's from the host of the show. She went to Tarleton.
Really?
Yeah. Fun fact.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No demo reno.
Yeah. Yeah. The show premise is they do renovations it's called no demo reno. They do take out cabinets and stuff, but I guess they don't move walls, and that's how they're because
you could redo flooring.
Yeah. 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 They just don't move. They don't change the floor plan. But I kind of like working with that. I don't know. I get some kind of weird satisfaction out of like turning something that you really didn't think, that these cabinets could look this amazing, but showing people what you can do with what you have. Yeah. It's fun.
I've been in a lot of trainings and like mindset and grit, and the more constraints provides more opportunity for creativity.
Yes.
The more constraints, more rigidity and price point, more like, we'll call them bumpers.
Yeah.
It forces a person, like money and space, that's the easy button.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't necessarily mean better.
Yeah.
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 So,
I love it. I don't know. Maybe because that's what we've been doing in our houses. We live in our 5th house right now. And we've always had, a budget constraint or some kind of, or we weren't going to live there that long, or we want to make it, sellable. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, maybe that's why I like it. It's fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Haley, do you have any closing thoughts of like potential homeowners or people just interested in design? Like,
to potential homeowners, I know I didn't give a lot of specific pricing information, but if you're curious about pricing, just reach out to, if you're in Stephenville, reach out to us. If you're somewhere else.
What's your phone number? Or what is Julianne's? What's your website?
Yes. So julianneslifestyle.com, or you can email me at Haley, Haley, at julianneslifestyle.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julianne's, is that 2 N's or 1 N?
2 N's.
Perfect.
Julianne's Lifestyle. Yep.
Okay.
You can reach us, or we're on social media. Julianne's Lifestyle is our username on most things, so you can find us there.
Awesome. No, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. And I wish you all the best. I hope you have like full books of just renos
We've been busy. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been we have a lot of really exciting projects.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it all at local proper, or how big a radius do you guys serve?
We serve surrounding areas. I think we have a project starting in Gustine, and so that's like 45 minutes from here. So that's probably one of the further ones. But yeah, we've probably an hour radius.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get to it earlier, but you keep mentioning e-design.
Oh, that's right.
What service is e-design?
E-design is also totally customizable, but I think the general idea is that it's all online. We're not going to have to meet in person. You don't even have to talk to me on the phone if you don't want to. It can be all through email. We're going to find out your goals for the space, and then we're going to provide you with the design, the look, like a mood board or a concept board, links to the products and where to put them. And you're going to purchase all of the products and install the look yourself. That's kind of the concept with e-design.
Okay.
But to make it more affordable, someone could also just ask for the concept and not the links to the furniture. I can give the color palette and the style and the look, and they can, if they're handy, they can shop it themselves.
Handle it. Mm-hmm. They can reverse Google search.
Yes, they can.
When you provide links and these services, are you getting kickbacks from the suppliers? Are you getting kickbacks, or is this you're buying retail price and you're offering them retail price?
I know some designers do for e-design. We don't for e-design. We just send the link. But if we were to recommend an item that was more custom, it may be through one of our vendors where we were.
Okay.
Yeah. But with e-design, that's not really our goal. E-design is going to be a more affordable option.
Yeah.
And it depends on the person's budget, but sometimes we're finding items on, Amazon and wherever.
It'll be here in 2 days.
Yeah, just make it accessible. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Good luck. And we'll see you. So everybody, the Walkthrough podcast, thanks for walking us through it.
Yes.
I always forget to say that.
That's awesome.
Walk me through it.
I love it. I hope I walked you through it in a way that made some sense.
No, it was great.
Okay.
It was great. So see you next time.
Yeah.
And we'll get out of here.
Thank you.